Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do what I plan to read in February. I am getting back to these videos, so I want to remind you that I don't do a technical TBR, although this is a list of books I would like to get to. I'm okay to deviate from this if I need to. I am more of a mood reader, and so I appreciate that if I have something on my list that I would like to read but I'm not feeling it, I move beyond, and no harm, no foul. So I am going to split this into 3 categories because I have quite the list this year or this month, and so I will be splitting them into my digital want to reads, my physical want to reads, and my borrowed want to reads. So let's get started. Okay, I'm pulling out my big boy. This is the 10-inch most recent Kindle Fire. I do use this sometimes, mostly to read with my youngest daughter when we have like graphic novels and things. And I actually sometimes use it just as a tablet, so I appreciate that. So I have quite the list of books on my Kindle. It just so happens that a lot of books that I had gotten from Libby have come through. Lots of books that I wanted to buy ended up being on Kindle Unlimited, so very fortunate about that. So this month my focus is also mostly romance books, but I understand that I'm gonna get burnt out on that because, you know, we can only do so much. So I am mixing it up a little bit. So one book I have from the library is called Moose and Murder. It's M-O-U-S-S-E. It is a cozy mystery. It looks like this is book 1 in the series. It's the girl owns or takes over a diner for her parents, and a death happens. She's gonna try to solve it. Basic cozy mystery. Next, I have a couple of Babysitters Club books that I want to get through. I do go back and read Babysitters Club books because they're like my palate cleanser book. I like to read them when I feel slumpy or I need to get something done. It feels really good just to like knock something out. So I'm actually in the middle of reading Dawn and Whitney, Friends Forever with my youngest. We're about 50% of the way through, and so we'll finish that this month. And that book is all about Dawn, who babysits Whitney, a girl with Down syndrome, and the parents told Dawn that they do not want Whitney to know that Dawn's a babysitter. She just wants her to be like a friend. And so it's pretty good so far. I'm not a Dawn fan, never have been, but I thought the story would be interesting, and I'm interested to see what happens when Whitney finds out that Dawn is actually a babysitter. We haven't gotten to that part yet, but I know it's coming. I'm also going to read Christy and the Copycat, book number 74, and I'm not actually going in order. I'm going in mood. I mostly like the Claudia and Stacy books, but as I've run through all of those, I have picked up a Marianne, some Christie's. Like I'm working through it. I just don't care for Dawn or Abby. But all of these are rereads as I read them when I was a kid. But I'm going to read Christy and the Copycat, and I think this one is basically Christy is trying to get on the softball team to impress her friends. She does something that she's not supposed to and lives with the guilt, all the while Karen is watching her and trying to copy her and be just as fabulous as she is. But is she really fabulous because she's making mistakes? I don't know. Okay, next I want to read Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This has been on my should I not read for so long because it is a longer book, but last month I read By a Thread and I really enjoyed Lucy Score's writing style, and I can understand why now we might need a 500-page romance novel. So this is going to be more of the same. I didn't read the synopsis on it. I just know it's a romance sort of book. Next, I want to read The Dinner List by Rebecca Searle. Now, Rebecca Searle is becoming one of my favorite new authors because she writes these really great timeline type books. And so usually a person in the book is traveling between different timelines, and she does it so well. Every book I've read of her, it's been like one and done, one day, and I've read it, and it's so good. Her writing style is really nice. There's not much of a lag in the middle, but some of the back and forth gets a little bit long and you feel like, okay, we got it. But The Dinner List, I want to say, is all about a person who gets asked the question like, hey, if you could have dinner with anybody alive or dead, who would it be? She picks people and then she ends up going to a dinner party and those people are there. So I'm excited to read that. Next, I want to read Magnolia Parks. Everybody's been talking about this book. It's actually on Kindle Unlimited, which is great because I did not want to risk getting it and not liking it. But it's basically, people are saying it's like Gossip Girl in a book. I'm just getting into Gossip Girl because I didn't watch it when it came out. I'm almost 40, and so that wasn't on my radar. I think when Gossip Girl came out, I already had a child, and so I was not watching Gossip Girl, but I'm watching it now on HBO Max, and I really like it. It's a great background, sort of mindless show of kids doing grimy stuff, and so I'm enjoying it. And so I want to read this book just to see if I'll like it. I really enjoy a series because then I don't have to think about what to read next, and Magnolia Parks is one in a series. Next, I have The Worst Best Man, which is a borrowed book from Libby, and I also have the physical borrowed book, which I'll show you when I go into my borrowed books, and that is another romance. I did a synopsis on that in my library book haul video, and I'll link that so you can go check that out. I'm in the middle of reading How to Hate, crossed out, Love Your Neighbor. Let's see if I can get that. In the middle of that one, but I'm not loving it, and so I have kind of stopped progress on it. I was reading it because I had finished reading in January around the 27th because I had already read 16 books, and I felt like I don't want to burn out. That's a lot, so let's just let that be. Those desperate reads, like what could I find that I could read? So I might come back to it, maybe not. Next up, I'm going to read Mr. Wrong Number. I don't know what that one's about either, but it's a cute little romance. I'm in the middle of reading The Dating Game, Sweet Valley High Book 78. I also reread the Sweet Valley High books because they are palate cleansers. They're so quick, and they are really hilarious the way they're written. There's not really a lot of likable characters in the story, to be honest. I mean, Jessica's horrible. Elizabeth enables her. But there's just something about it. And now the show has gone on Prime, which came out mid-90s. I did not watch it in the mid-90s because I felt like it was trying to copy like a Clueless model, or I also felt like I was too old for it because I was like 13 when that came out. I didn't have time for that. But watching it back, it is intense. And I believe it came on Saturday mornings. That's intense. It's an intense show. Anyway, so I'm going to read that Sweet Valley High, The Dating Game. And that's all about a guy who is dating two girls, and he's basically making them compete for him by like who's going to be the better date, which is hilarious to me. Okay, and then next, this is just something I've had. These next ones are a couple that I've had that if I need to, because I'm tired of romance, I will go to. One is The Housemaid. It's a thriller that has been on my radar for a while. I've heard a couple of people review it and said it was good. I can't even remember what it's all about. I think it's about like the housekeeper witnessing something, but I don't know. It sounds kind of good. I also have The Infinity Between Us, which I also don't know what it's about, or Every Summer After vibes. And so I loved that book as well as Love and Other Words, and it's all in the same vein, so I'm excited to try that out. And then a while ago, I bought Christina Lauren's Something Wilder. And I like Christina Lauren. I haven't had a bad experience with them, but something about this book is like, I have not been able to pick it up off of my Kindle and just decide to read it because it's just not, it's not giving what I think it's going to give. And there's something about it being about like minors, or they're doing this dig. I don't know. I just have not picked it up yet, but that could happen this month. So I have lots of digital picks to go to. Let me show you my borrowed books that I got from the library. Okay, this is my bag of borrowed books. I already did a video about these books and giving a synopsis. So if you want to hear what these books are about, check the video that I'm going to link in the cards. Otherwise, I'm just going to show you the titles. These are all romance books. As I said in February, my goal was to read mostly romance books because it's February, it's the month of love, let's do this. And I know that I'm going to get tired of them, so I only have 8, and we'll see how far we get. First up, Love and Other Disasters, Perfect Equation, The Worst Best Man, The Kissing Game, One True Loves, Love Your Life, Symptoms of a Heartbreak, and finally, Love at First Sight. These are kind of in order from least to most likely to be read. As I read the back covers and did those synopsis in the video, I really loved like the first 4 books. Love at First Sight, Symptoms of a Heartbreak, Love Your Life, and One True Loves. Those are the ones that I really want to get to. The rest are just icing on the cake. Lastly, I want to show you the books that I want to read that I physically own already. And most of these books are fantasy books because I do enjoy fantasy if it's written correctly and I can like get into it. Most recently, I read the ACOTAR series, which most people did. And so I am now into the Throne of Glass series. I took a little break last month after reading 2 of the books. And I'm on the 4th book because I read the prequel in December. So I am on the 4th book. Anyway, here are the books that I'm going to read that I actually have. The first book that I picked up last month was this Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. I've already started this book. So I am on page 76 currently. And there's about 315 pages in this book. I'm really liking this. This is a YA book. It's by Talia Hibbert. She also did all of the like Chloe Brown books, that sort of trilogy with the sisters. And I didn't care for those. I know a lot of people loved those and like swear by them. I didn't love them, but I read all 3 of them. They were just okay to me. I'd 100% be willing to go back to any of them and check them out, but not my favorite. But this one's starting off pretty good. She is a British writer, and so she puts a whole glossary into the beginning of the book so that you know what certain words mean. I didn't really go through the glossary, and the writing hasn't like tripped me up or anything, but it's moving pretty quickly. It's a beautiful like floppy sort of paperback, which I love, so I can just like read it and fold it and tuck it and be ready to go. So I have a huge chunk of time today that I will be away from the home, but not really doing something, and so I will be bringing my book and really deep diving into this. So this so far is really good. After that, we're in between some of these romances. I'm gonna go back to book 4 of book 4 of Throne of Glass, and the book is Heir of Fire. It is good. Like I said, I'm into the series. I get what's going on. I am invested. The reason I took a break last month was because I had read Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight in the same month. They're both pretty hefty books. I mean, her writing is that way. And as I jumped into this book, we were being introduced to quite a few new characters. And so I was feeling like I was not comprehending what was going on. And so I took a break, not forever, but just for the rest of January. So I'm coming back to this. And I'm currently on page 129. And so I feel good about that. I've been reading the Heroes of Olympus series really slowly. I started this probably summertime, and I'm on book 3 currently. They are okay, but I'm like so invested in just finishing that I am pushing through very slowly. So I don't have any sort of time limit on this. I'm just reading it when the mood strikes me, and it kind of feels nice just to read when you want to read it. But I am on book 3. I don't think this is the best series, to be honest. Like, I've rated most of the books in the 3 range, and so I think if you were going to read this to begin with, you might be a little disappointed. But I think I'm invested. I like Rick Riordan. I like his world that he creates, and I am going to read this slowly, but I'm going to read it. And then I picked up Dance of Thieves, which has been on I've like had this in my mind for a while that I wanted to read this. So this book, I don't know much about. I'm going to read the back. It says, a formidable outlaw family that claims to be the first among nations. A son destined to lead, thrust suddenly into power. 3 fierce young women of the Rattan, the Queen's premier guard. A legendary street thief leading a mission, determined to prove herself. A dark secret that is a threat to the entire continent. And when outlaw leader meets reformed thief, a cat and mouse game of false moves ensues, bringing them intimately together in a battle that may cost them their lives and their hearts. So I've heard good things about this duology. It is on Kindle Unlimited. However, I wanted to get the actual book because I felt like it's going to be a little dense. And so I wanted to be able to underline, fold, come back to things. And sometimes I can't do that digitally. I'm sure I could, but for my reading style, I thought paperback would be best. I'm excited to read that. Another book on my physical TBR that is not a fantasy book is X's and O's by Amy Lee. And I'm so excited to read this book. So I picked this book up because I had seen it coming out, and it just looked cute. The cover's adorable, right? And then So I bought it, but then I know she has a book. It's like a duology. It's going to be 3 books ultimately. But I picked up Set on You at the library and like loved that book. I gave it 5 stars. And so I'm really excited to read this book. I love Amy Lee's writing style, and I cannot wait to read the next book in this series and read this one. So that's also on my list. Okay, I'm also always reading Harry Potter. It's one of my favorite series. I got into it late in life. Prior to my current role, I was a teacher, and one of my 5th grade students loved it. I wanted to connect with that student because we were not connecting, and we started connecting on Harry Potter. And so I had promised myself I'd never read that series, and then I read it and fell in love. I'm obsessed. You can see I have all the things back there, my Pop Funkos, my Harry Potter shelf back there, and I do a reread quite often. I think I'm on my 4th reread at this point. And last year I kind of burnt out on it, honestly, and I haven't been watching the movies and I haven't been like really engaging, but I am technically on book 6, and I have a little bit read in this already. I listened to it on Audible mostly, and when I was, I work remotely now, but when I was not working remotely, I would listen to it on the way to work and from work as my commute listen, but I don't have that much now, and it's really hard to do your computer work while you're listening to something. And so I want to get back to finishing up this series, but again, it's sort of like the Heroes of Olympus series. I'm not in a rush. They'll be here. My passion for Harry Potter is there. I don't need to prove it every year, but I am on book 6 if that moves me this month or any month this year. And then lastly, for physical books, which I haven't gotten yet, I did pick up the writing retreat from Book of the Month. I do have Book of the Month. I've paused it. I've stopped. I haven't stopped. I've always paused it. And sometimes some months aren't great and I've skipped months. But I'm trying to be really consistent and like broaden my horizon. So this time I picked up a psychological thriller. And this book is basically about some writing frenemies that are, they win a trip to this like retreat to, it's not a retreat. They have a contest at this remote location of an author that they both like. And the competition is basically they have to write a book within a month. And the person who writes that book will win like a 7-figure publishing deal. However, there's lots going on in the house. It sounds like there's some mind games happening and the house is haunted. And so that's on the list too. I did not read my book from last month's Book of the Month, and I didn't read Babel, which was December's. So I don't always read them the month that I get them, but they are here. So that is everything that I want to read this month. It's a ton. I know I won't get through all of it. Like I said, in January, I read 16 books, but that's not typical. I mean, at least not this early on in the year. So I will do my best. I try to read at least 10 books a month, but if that doesn't happen, or more, that's just bonus, but at least 10 is like usually my target number. So we'll see what I can get through. Comment down below if there's any books that I showed you that you might be interested in or that you've already read. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share my channel. This is a new up-and-coming YouTube channel in a very saturated market, I understand, but I appreciate your viewing and I appreciate sharing my love of books with this community. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.